At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Welcome back, my friends, or welcome if you're just joining us for hour number 2 of the program. I got to tell you, again, we don't do themes here, but one of the things that I would say the headlines definitely support today is that if you are a reasonable person, if you believe in truth, if you believe in science, if you believe in logic, if you believe and how this nation was founded, the principles upon which she has been built that have carried us through nearly, a quarter of a millennia now. We're approaching our 250th birthday. If you believe in that, I do not know. I do not know how you can vote for today's Democrats. This is not the party of JFK in 1960. This is not the same thing. These folks are radical. They are delusional. They are deniers of truth and reality. They are not free market capitalists. They are calling on gang members, quite literally, leaders of gangs in Los Angeles, to come out and to fight with ICE. That's what I played at the end of last segment. And I rushed through the last segment. I was talking about Los Angeles. It reminded me of my friend Joel, who lives out there, who's a very intelligent, probably, don't tell him I said this. I've had the blessing of being around some really, really smart people in my life. The guy who owned the horse farm that I ran, retired plastic surgeon, Dr. James Bennett, was absolutely a genius. I mean, smartest, probably the most intelligent person I've ever been around. But when it comes to people my age, when I was a student going through classes, the one that I had the most respect for, and I dealt with a lot of intelligent people. It's funny to me because there's intelligence, there's book smart, and then there's a guy like Joel was. People that I respected and was drawn to because it's the way that I think. The books are great. That's important to know and to understand. But there's a practical side of this, or the ability to take an idea and to talk about it in reasonable and practical terms. And Joel could do that. And so I have great respect for him. And so I was sharing some stories and some of the things I'd learned because that's his environment. That's where he grew up. He's been to my home area, my hometown, the Sticks of Monrovia, and I've been to his town, his city, the city of Compton, which sounds made up. My wife and I, we went there for he and his wife's wedding. It's been a long time ago. But there's definitely some places that I don't know that I would go back to. I think I would trust him. But anyway, the point is that I feel like I have to rush sometimes with some of these time constraints. But the overall message that I had last hour, the appeal I have is to say, look, we're to a point. This is no more about politics. I've said this for a while. We are dealing with two diametrically opposed worldviews. We are dealing with one that is rooted in reason and logic and sense and principle. And yes, some of the Republicans that are elected do not respect that either. I admit that. I've shared names. Todd Young here in my state does not at all represent what I think is what the Republican Party should be doing. I'm not a fan of the former governor of Indiana, Eric Holcomb. Heaven help me if he ever runs for Senate or something like that. I don't care. Well, I guess there's a scenario that I would vote for him over somebody else, but it would have to be a horrible set of choices. He would have to run unopposed, and I don't even know for what office. It'd have to be just against the Democrats, and I would have no other choice. But I didn't even vote for him when it was him, Holcomb, the Republican, the Democrat, and the Libertarian, Donald Rainwater. I've told you I voted for Donald Rainwater. I'm actually quite proud of that. I liked a lot about Donald Rainwater. Anyway, the problem here is that the Democratic Party has lost any any basis in logic and coherence. They've rejected virtually everything that's true about the world, from things as simple as they don't know what a woman is, to their full-hearted acceptance of the LGBTQ plus agenda, to the defense of Iran today, which we've seen and gotten into, to their opposition to free market capitalism. Look at this guy who's running for mayor in the city of New York. Here's Blaze Media. I'll get a little bit into this. New York City's likely next mayor wants to, quote, globalize the intifada. Glenn Beck wrote this maybe earlier today. Zohran Mamdani is a lunatic. He's a socialist. This is what the subheading of this article says. If New Yorkers hand City Hall to Zohran Mamdani, they're not voting for change. They're opening the door to an alliance of socialism, Islamism, and chaos. It doesn't take very long of looking at this candidate to realize that that's 100% what they are messing with, what they are welcoming into their city. These things are not good. These things have a history of a terrible track record. Globalizing the intifada. I mean, what the world is going on here? In the city that dealt with 9/11, 2 towers taken down by terrorists who crashed into the World Trade Towers on 9/11. It is remarkable to see how far the Democratic Party has gone. If this candidate would have run in 2002 or 2004, he wouldn't. I don't know that he would have gotten a single vote. But this is how much things have changed. I think people know that there are problems, but they don't know how to analyze the problem and say, this is the problem, here's the solution. They say the people running things and the ideas that have been in Washington or in our city here, this city of New York, they have led to this problem. They don't identify which ones, and they say, we need something different. So let's pick a dude that is a democratic socialist, which again, all that means is that he thinks he has the right to whatever property or whatever he wants of yours, so long as he gets 50% plus one, a majority of people to give him the right to go after it. That's what democratic socialist means. I don't care. You can try to give me any other definition. That's 100% what it means. So I want to talk a little bit about this again as we explore how far the Democrat Party has gone to the left, and they are going even further to the left. You've got some people who are inside the party who are begging them to use a little bit of sense and reason and to stop going radically to the left, but they are losing control. This party is hell-bent on going further and further into the center, the belly of the beast, and the godless radical left. Before I get too far down that path, though, my friends, if you're in sales, I have a question for you, my friends. I have a question for you. Are you where you want to be? Because you know that it is results that matter. Results matter, and there are ways to get where you want to be, my friends, if you have a system and a training and coaching that helps you get there. And no one delivers results like Matt Easton and Easton University. Matt's system is as good as, and I would say it's better than anything I'm aware of. His system, his coaching, his training, there's a lot of good stuff out there. But I think that this is the best that I've seen. It's practical, it's proven, it's built to help you sell smarter, to close faster, and to make more money. So, if you go to toddhuffshow.com/Easton, you can learn more information about his training program. And if you sign up there, become a student of Easton University, whether yourself as an individual sales person, whether you have your team, if you're the sales manager or the business owner, whatever the case, if you're looking to get yourself or your team trained, check this out. It is worth the investment. If you or your people, your team, follow this program, it will pay off. toddhuffshow.com/Easton. Again, toddhuffshow.com/Easton. All right, let's look at this lunatic. I'm reading this article to blaze.com, Glenn Beck, talking about New York City's, what appears to be their next mayor, this radical leftist, Zohran Mamdani. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing that, but it took only 25 years for New York City to go from the resilient, flag-waving pride following the 9/11 attacks to a political fever dream. To quote Michael Malice, "I'm old enough to remember when New Yorkers endured 9/11 instead of voting for it." Well, that's a heck of a quote, isn't it? Malice is talking about Zohran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist assemblyman from Queens, now eyeing the mayor's office. Mamdani, a 33-year-old state representative emerging from relative political obscurity, is now receiving substantial funding for his mayoral campaign from the Council on American Islamic Relations. That is CAIR, C-A-I-R, CAIR, a radical organization, by the way. CAIR has a long and concerning history, including being born out of the Muslim Brotherhood. Oh, yes, the ever so peaceful Muslim Brotherhood, and named an unindicted co-conspirator in the Holy Land Foundation terror funding case. Why would the group have dropped $100,000 into a PAC backing Mamdani's campaign? Perhaps CAIR has a vested interest in Mamdani's call to globalize the intifada. I kid you not, my friends. That's a call for that's not, Beck writes, a call for peaceful protest. Intifada, for those of you who don't know, check out Intifada. Check those out. There's multiple of those that have been called for going back to the late 90s by Arafat. But this is what Glenn Beck writes. Intifada refers to historic uprisings of Muslims against what they call the, quote, Israeli occupation of Palestine. I mean, this is effectively where we are today. Suicide bombings and street violence are part of the playbook. So when Mamdani says he wants to, quote, globalize that, who is exactly the enemy in this global scenario? Because it sure sounds like saying America is the new Israel. Sure sounds like he's saying America is the new Israel, and anyone who supports Western democracy is the new Zionist. Again, who is on the docket. These are the candidates. This is who you're supporting if you're not a Democrat today. Now, you might say, Todd, I didn't vote. This guy, I can't even vote for this guy. I don't live in New York City. This guy doesn't represent my values. None of this stuff. I wouldn't vote for him if I was there. Friends, we're at a place in time. And I don't know if I've ever said this. I might have said it, I might have believed it, but I believe it more now than I have ever before. The American people have to hand the Democrat Party a resounding defeat, such a resounding defeat that they are forced to purge themselves of leaders like this. They have to then, or collapse. I mean, we're at the point in time, we're at the stage in this process whereby they're at a point of reaching absolute collapse, or, of course, they could rebound, and who knows where they could, it's not a foregone conclusion that this is the end of the road for the Democrats. I've never predicted that, but they are at a closer point now to collapse. Now, than I would say any time in my lifetime. Now, I want to say some things. Number one, I'm not just against the Democrats because they're the opposition party to the Republicans. I've shared before, first and foremost, I'm not a fan of Republicans. Of politicians that I would be a, quote, fan of, they have been Republicans. Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump. Who else? I got to pause and be hesitant in that. There's others too. They're all Republicans, at least in modern times. But even most of the Republicans, I wouldn't consider myself a fan of. I don't think that a lot of these folks get to the position that they're looking to fill. I think that it's easier just to go along to get along. It's easier to not try to do the heavy lifting and fight the fights that are necessary to change the trajectory of this great nation and her cities and states and so forth. But the Democrat Party is no longer, it has to be changed, or it needs to completely collapse. And I would love one of those two things to happen. But again, it's important. Some people for example, some people hate Trump because he's not the Democrat, because he's been demonized. Listen, none of that has anything to do with the reason I hate the Democratic Party. And yes, I do. I hate it. I hate what it stands for. And I think you should consider that too. Not to hate the people, but to hate what the party platform is. This is an anti-American movement. This is a party that has abandoned truth. It is embracing radical godlessness and abject evil. It is teaching it's teaching our children, trying to teach our children things that run contrary to nature and to nature's God, our creator. This is dangerous and very, very devastating stuff. These are people who are telling children it's okay to mutilate your body. It's all right. It's okay to kill a baby in your womb. These are not things that are okay. These are not things that are okay at all. These are people who are telling you if you don't get your act together as an American citizen, the world's going to end because of climate change or some other thing. That is not going to happen. By the way, read the book of Genesis. Read the early chapters of Genesis. I forget which one it is. It's after the flood, but it's before chapter 11. Read that and tell me what it says as far as God allowing the earth to be destroyed. Tell me if that's ever going to happen, according to the scriptures. But these lies are straight from the pits of hell. And we have reached a point, it is not about politics anymore. This is not about taxes. This is not about domestic priorities. This is not about funding, one program over another. This is about the redefining of what is good and true and noble and admirable. This is about pursuing something that we all know is good, which is a nation that is predicated and built upon liberty and the choice, the defense of the smallest minority group, the minority of one, the individual. Democratic socialism that's being pushed down the throats of the American people in New York City and elsewhere, by the way, but in particular right now through this race, this political race. It is just dangerous. They are pushing an ideology, a belief system down the throats of Americans who know that our system, that something's wrong out there, but they don't know what. They can't analyze, they can't diagnose. They just say, wow, here's something that's not normal, that's not part of the routine system. Let's try that for a little bit. That is one of the most foolish things that we could do, but yet we do it. So, That's what has become of today's Democrat Party. And I've got other examples. I don't want to stop on this one for very long. But you remember not too long ago that there was a Democratic representative who was arrested and charged because of an incident that happened in the Newark, New Jersey ICE facility. You remember that. Her name is Congresswoman McIver. Headline here, FoxNews.com. Democratic Congresswoman pleads not guilty for Newark ICE facility incident, rallies supporters. McIver allegedly attempted to block officers from arresting Newark mayor at immigration facility. You remember some of these shenanigans. This was before Senator Padilla from California did his little sideshow, but this was her attempt on the other coast, on the East Coast in New York, in New Jersey. A Democrat Congresswoman has pleaded not guilty to allegedly obstructing Homeland Security agents in a much-publicized altercation outside an immigration facility last month. Representative LaMonica McIver, Democrat from New Jersey, appeared in court on Wednesday, charged in a 3-count indictment of forcibly impeding federal officers during an attempted arrest of Newark Mayor Ross Baraka at the Delaney Hall immigration facility on May the 9th. I pleaded not guilty because I'm not guilty. We will fight this, McIver told supporters outside the courthouse after her appearance before saying she was headed back to Washington, D.C. At the end of the day, she said, this is all about political intimidation. No, it's not. It absolutely is not. We've seen the video. We know the law. They said that you broke it by trying to interfere with the arrest of an individual. That's pretty cut and dry. Ask the average person to explain what Trump did that was illegal, and you'll have to sit there for 3 hours, and they still won't even know how to explain it to you. This is cut and dry. This is simple. There is evidence. The Trump administration, she says, and his colleagues or cronies, or whatever you want to call them, have weaponized the federal government. No, my friends, the weaponization of the federal government happened long ago. It's been weaponized to the max by the Biden administration, the Biden crime family, President Bribery himself. They weaponized it against Trump. We've gone through that in great detail for a long time. This is called the enforcement of law. I do not want the government weaponized against my political opponents. That is reprehensible to me. Even if you're right in the fight, if you try to use the government to silence or to stop your opponents, that is reprehensible. If they're breaking the law, however, and it's clear cut, as it appears to be here, by the way, then you have an obligation to enforce the law as well. This is not the weaponization of government. This is, again, Dramocrats being Dramocrats. Quick timeout, though, my friends. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Would you rather take 2 soft gels a day or spend hours in your doctor's office talking about your cholesterol? I like my doctor. In fact, I ran into him the other day. Out and about. Actually ran into him at the library. I'd go up there to get some quiet time, to get a room, and to work on some stuff. Saw him. We started talking. I said, Chris, that's his name. What are you doing here, buddy? I didn't think you could read. Kidding, of course, he can read. And we started talking, but I enjoy talking with him. I do. We talked for a good while. But I got to tell you, I would rather take 2 salty soft gels a day than I would to be in his office talking about my cholesterol. Now, it still may be necessary at some point to have that conversation and all of that, but this is a great place to start. It's an all-natural, clinically proven. Clinically proven means scientifically demonstrated, proven through research to lower cholesterol, my friends. If you have high cholesterol, this is a great thing for you to take a look at. If your family has a history of high cholesterol, if you're concerned about your heart health, if you just want to stay proactive in taking care of your heart as you age. This is a great way to do it. It's not a drug. There's no prescription. There's no doctor's visits. None of that stuff. Just 2 Solti soft gels a day. That's all it takes. And it's a good first step in taking care of your heart. So, to check out the product, it's very affordable. Go to Solti.com, Soltea. And by the way, if you use my name, Todd, you're going to save. It's already very affordable. It's going to be extraordinarily affordable because you're going to save 50% off your first order, and you're going to get free shipping. It doesn't get much better than that, my friends. Solti.com, Soltea, promo code Todd. Check it out. Take care of your heart's health. All right. So, talking about a lot here. The theme, again, I don't like to do themes. But the theme is that of the program, just because of the headlines, is that the Democrat Party must collapse or be restructured dramatically for the best interest of this nation. 100%. I say all that. California is dealing with its own set of problems. You may have seen that Kamala is plotting to run, potentially, it seems, to be the governor of the state of California, the People's Republic of California. My heart goes out to the people out there. You know, there's a lot of conservatives in California. There's just not enough. There's more, I think, than there used to be, or there's a lot of people that have been awakened to the nonsense, but there is a lot of problems in the People's Republic of California, and they may be looking eye to eye with their next problem, and that is the possibility of having Governor Kamala Harris. But the left has destroyed a lot, my friends, everything that they've touched, and it's good to see. It's good to see that people are waking up to this. It's also good to see that some people are being held to account. You may have seen this. Joe Biden's senior advisor refuses to testify in House oversight investigation into the Biden decline. You might remember he's the one whose name was mentioned as the one who was running the administration, ostensibly, possibly in charge of the auto pen. That's still out there. That's another reason to be against the Democrats, because they let those shenanigans go on. They told you that the Biden administration, Joseph Robinette bribery, was totally healthy, totally in great condition and health, was quick as a whip in those one-on-one meetings. He was able to bounce from subject to subject, keeping the people he was meeting with on their toes, unable to keep up with his rapid-fire, just unstoppable mental track that he was on. Of course, nothing could have been further from the truth. They pushed this candidate on us. They knew, and I'm telling you right now, they knew in 2020 this was the condition of this guy, and they pushed him on us anyway. They knew that he was not cognitive in 2020. They did not care. They decided that the best chance they had of beating Trump in 2020 was by having Joseph Robinette bribery be their guy. That's what they decided. So this party has a history of doing all sorts of reprehensible things. Going back, even back in the history books, when they opposed Bernie Sanders, they gave Hillary Clinton the debate questions. The debate was stacked. The odds were stacked in Hillary's favor in 2016 when she defeated Bernie in the primaries. I mean, we are scraping the bottom of the bucket as far as all this nasty sludge and scum is concerned with how things are run in the Democrat Party. Now, again, I'm not here to compare and contrast that against the Republican Party. I'm here to contrast that against ideas and principles that we all need to be supporting if we want to see this great nation thrive, well, survive first and thrive thereafter. And so there's a lot of headlines out there, a lot of them, so many so that I don't even know where to look next. Actually, I do know where to look next. I want to play this. This falls in line with just the utter craziness, but I want to play this. This is ESPN. Now, you know that I'm a fan of sports. I'm a fan of the Pacers. You've heard me talk a lot about the Pacers. Some of you got sick of me talking about the Pacers. I've never been a WNBA fan. It's not a good product, but I will say this. Caitlin Clark and other players, other recent players, they're current players, but players who have recently, joined the WNBA or whatever, that they've made this a much more watchable product. And Fever games, we'll watch some of them. The girls like watching them. I'll watch with them. I like Caitlin. I like a lot of our players. I don't know what was going on with this Dewana Bonner situation. Take it for whatever that's worth. She just decided one day she didn't want to play for the team anymore. Crazy stuff. But anyway, there is one of these analysts, one of these broadcasters, made a comment during a recent Fever game. This is getting some attention online and elsewhere. Fever were playing the Las Vegas, whatever they are. I don't even know what the Las Vegas team is. But they're out on their West Coast trip. This was a couple of days ago. And one of the commentators, the broadcasters, made a comment, and she used the phrase, "That's what makes America great." And now we can't see the faces, right? The faces of the broadcasters aren't visible for most of when they talk about a game. Sometimes they'll come back, face to camera, analyzing things, talking about things, whatever. But this was during the game, and so there's the teams had called timeout. They're going to the bench. They show a replay on the camera of a foul that was called, and she disagreed with the call, and she says that's what makes America great. This is how crazy these leftists, the sports media, the people at ESPN, by the way, owned by Disney, the radicals there, this is how they think. You can't even say something like this without having to apologize. It's just preposterous. Listen to this.
So they disagree with you. They do, and I disagree with them, and that's fine. That's what makes America great, right, Pant Ward?
Silence. Listen, I'm not counting the time.
I should rephrase that.
Rephrase that.
But yeah, I did think
opinion are perfectly
yes,
fine.
that's a better way to say it. Sorry about that.
Sorry, she apologizes for saying that's what makes America great. What was she saying? She's saying, look, the refs called this. I don't see it that way. But hey, they have their opinion. I have my opinion. That's what makes America great. And then there's many seconds of awkward silence because she said a phrase that could be tied to Trump, make America great again. The WNBA, sports media, the radical left that runs both of those pillars of propaganda, entertainment and media, they say, wait, you can't be saying that. America's not great. We've just invested a whole bunch of time telling people how not great America is, how terrible it is to have a dictator in the White House. What are you talking about here, man? You can't be saying those things. There's awkward silence. She said I should rephrase. Why should you rephrase it? She clearly wasn't trying to say that Trump is here to make America great again. She was saying what makes America great is that they can have their opinion about what that call was. I can have mine. We can voice it and we move on. What's so terribly offensive about that? What is wrong with this country? What is wrong, not with the country, what's wrong with the lunatics who fall into the category of thinking that she should have apologized? The people who should apologize are the ones who want to globalize the intifada, as we talked about with this lunatic political candidate in New York. Those are the people that need to apologize. This lady doesn't need to apologize for saying that. She wasn't even talking about politics. These people are so sensitive and get their panties in a bunch so easily. My friends, I got to take a timeout. Quick timeout, my friends. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. I want to remind you, MyPillow is having the best deals, is currently offering their best deal on Percale bed sheets. You can get a set right now for as low as $24.98. The sheets are breathable. They have a cool feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress of any thickness. They look and feel great, which means and translates into a better night's sleep for those using such a high quality and comfortable product. On top of that, they are offering you $100 in free digital gifts when you place an order over $100 at mypillow.com. That is for a limited time. To do that, of course, you'll go to mypillow.com and be sure to use promo code Todd to get those special discounts and offers. mypillow.com, promo code Todd. Percale bed sheets, get a set of those for as low as $24.98. That's under $25. Just in case a leftist, a leftist socialist is tuned in here, that's just under $25. I know you're not good at math. Take it easy. I'm just playing, but you know that it's true still. All right, so I want to, I guess, give a quick update on something that we've been talking about here the past couple of days, and that is, of course, what happened in Iran, specifically the claims that Iran's nuclear facilities were not destroyed. So there's headlines here. JustTheNews.com. CIA director declares Iranian nuclear facilities destroyed. Disputes news reports. Ratcliffe claimed CIA data showed the facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. This would, of course, echo what Donald J. Trump has said. This would echo what J.D. Vance was out there saying. It would simply contradict the report or the assessment of a report given to CNN by people who broke the law by sharing the report. By the way, I think Hegseth said the FBI is coming after you if you're sharing this top secret information with the media. You're going to be, you broke the law. We're going to find out who you are, and if you broke the law, which it appears that they did, you're going to be charged. So the CIA director says that. I saw Tulsi Gabbard made the same announcement. I think both of those stories are in the stack of stuff at toddhuffshow.com if you want to check those out. For some reason, this internet connection has been painfully slow. We have a couple of different internet connections here for redundancy's sake. And I got to tell you, one of these, I'm not going to name the name of it. I am tempted to, but I'm not going to. But when we first got this one provider, it was very fast, very efficient. And right now, I got to be honest with you, it absolutely is terrible. It acts like we're a step ahead of dial-up. Maybe we're on the same footing as dial-up. I don't know. I'm not going to say the name of the provider because that's not what it's about. I'm just telling you what we're dealing with here and having a little bit of fun. But I got to tell you, if they don't get their act together, I might tell you who it is. This is preposterous. I can't even get anything to load right now. Oz, can you? Do you have problems? You can't either. Oz has problems. I have problems. The world is going on here. Anyway, well, fortunately, we're at the end of the program, and I don't need to see any of these other stories. What I need to do is recap what we talked about today. This nation, my friends, at one point in time had a two-party, and listen, I'm actually not even a fan of political parties. I'm really not. I'm different in that sense from a lot of folks. I'm kind of a George Washington as far as his political, the way he looked at politics and all that. I think the political parties cause some unnecessary things, and there's some ramifications from it. But I also get it. It's the natural things for people who have political objectives to come together and to form a party and to try to organize and part of that makes total sense. But I also understand, as do you, that the political parties themselves often make things harder to change for those of us who maybe are not on the inside of the political party. But regardless, There used to be a point in time where, politics was politics. We had two parties who had a respect for this country, her founding, her principles. We don't have that anymore. We don't. And I want the Democrats to lose, and I want the Democrat Party to change, to move dramatically to the right. I know what I'm saying sounds preposterous, but that would be the decision that they would make if they were not run by these ideological lunatics. These ideological lunatics have taken the party too far, but this is what they believe. They have abandoned so many truths to get where they are, the radical left has, and they think that they've actually stumbled upon something that is transformative in a good way, but it's actually lies straight from the pits of hell. It is godless. It is dangerous. I'm not talking about all Democrats. I'm talking about the ideology. And that's what's on the ballot. I hope the party collapses or changes. It needs to change its leadership. And I don't want to see its failure just because I don't like them because they're, quote, on the other team. I don't like them. In fact, I hate what the party stands for because it's terrible ideas. It's predicated on things that are not true, that are not wholesome, that are not good, that are not moral. And they got to change. And I got to go. SDG.